You are going to die, not someday, not eventually. You are dying right now, this very second. Cells collapsing, neurons misfiring, time eating you from the inside out. And the worst part? You know this deep down, in the place you never look. You know, but you pretend. You smile. You work, you love. You plan for tomorrow, as if tomorrow is promised. As if you are permanent, as if you are real, but you are not real. You are a ghost piloting a meat machine, a story a brain tells itself to avoid the screaming truth that you are nothing. A brief electrical storm in a dying universe. An accident that became aware of itself. A cosmic joke with no punchline. And there is something that knows this, something that has always known, something that watches you pretend, watches you perform, watches you cling to the lie of yourself. And when you are ready, when the cracks grow too wide, when you can no longer sustain the illusion, it will show itself, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. To peel back the skin of sanity and show you what you truly are beneath the performance. And once you see it, once you truly see it, there is no going back, no unseeing, no forgetting, only the knowing, the terrible, infinite, suffocating knowing. His name is Hastur, the King of Yellow. His name is Hastur, the King of Yellow, the Monarch of Madness. And what makes him terrifying is not that he destroys the mind, but that he opens it. There is a secret humans were never meant to understand. Sanity is not natural. It's a cage, a thin film wrapped around a bottomless abyss, a polite lie we all agreed to believe. Hastur is what appears when someone looks too closely. Some say he was once human, a scholar, a philosopher, a priest of truth. He did not worship gods. He worshipped knowledge, and in his search for absolute meaning, he found something else, a message repeated in every ancient language, a pattern carved in bone, mirrored in constellations, hidden inside children's rhymes. The pattern was not created by humans. The pattern is what humans were created to hide. When Hastur finally understood it, his mind didn't break. It expanded, and reality could not contain him anymore. He did not go insane. The world did. His presence is subtle. It begins when the world feels almost wrong. A familiar street looks slightly different. A friend's smile seems painted on too tightly. You forget a word you've known your whole life. And when you try to remember it, your skin goes cold. These are not accidents. These are cracks. Cracks that form when Hastur is near. Doctors call it anxiety. Psychologists call it derealization. Priests call it demonic influence. But the truth is simpler. Your mind is remembering that reality is just a story you were taught to agree with. And Hastur, he is the reminder. The yellow you see in the corner of your vision, the laughter in an empty room, the moment you look into a mirror and don't recognize the person looking back. But here is the most disturbing part. Hastur does not force his way into a mind. You invite him. When you start asking questions like, what if nothing is real? What if no one actually knows me? What if my thoughts aren't mine? That's when he listens. That's when he waits. That's when he enters. And once he whispers the truth to you, there is no way back. The first recorded encounter with Hastur happened in 1873, a village in the mountains of Romania. Population 214. For 3 weeks, the people reported strange phenomena. Clocks running backward, milk curdling in sealed bottles, children speaking in languages they had never learned. At first, the local priest believed it was a demonic infestation. He performed exorcisms. He burned sage. He prayed until his voice broke. But nothing changed, because it wasn't the village that was haunted. It was the people. One by one, they began to change, not physically, mentally. A farmer claimed he could see through his own hands. A mother insisted her children were not her children, but perfect imitations. A blacksmith sat in his workshop for 9 hours, staring at a hammer, unable to remember what it was for. The priest wrote in his journal, "They are losing the ability to pretend." And then on the 21st day, everyone in the village walked into the forest, together in silence. They were never seen again. The only thing left behind was a single phrase carved into every door, every wall, every gravestone. He showed us what we are. Hastur does not appear as a monster. He appears as a question. A question so simple, so obvious, that once you hear it, you cannot stop thinking about it. The question is different for everyone. For some it's, why do I believe I am the voice in my head? For others, If my memories can be wrong, how do I know any of them are real? And for a few, what if the person I was yesterday is not the same person I am today? These questions seem harmless, philosophical even, but they are not. They are keys. Keys that unlock doors in the mind that were meant to stay closed. Because behind those doors is the truth that the self is not solid. That identity is a fragile construct. That consciousness is not a possession, but a performance. And when you see that, when you truly see it, you realize you have been living inside a mask, and you cannot put it back on. There was a mathematician named Victor Dalmar, brilliant, published, respected. He spent his life studying patterns, fractals, symmetries, the hidden mathematics of nature. One night, while working late, he discovered something. A sequence. It appeared in prime numbers, in the Fibonacci spiral, in the distribution of galaxies. At first, he thought it was a coincidence, but the deeper he looked, the more it appeared. In his own fingerprints, in his heartbeat, in the rhythm of his breathing. The pattern was not just in the universe, it was in him. And then he understood. The pattern was not a pattern, it was a signature left by something that designed reality itself, and it was watching. Victor stopped sleeping. He stopped eating. He filled his walls with equations, desperate to prove what he had found. But the more he wrote, the more he realized the pattern was not trying to hide. It was trying to communicate. And it had chosen him. 3 weeks later, his colleagues found him in his study. He was alive, physically unharmed, but when they spoke to him, he did not respond. He simply stared at the ceiling, smiling like someone who had finally been let in on the joke. They asked him what he saw. He whispered, "Yellow. Everything is yellow now. Hastur does not need a body. He does not need a voice. He is an idea. And ideas do not die. They spread." In 1937, a playwright in Paris wrote a play called The King in Rags. It was a tragedy. A king who ruled a city that did not exist, a kingdom built on collective delusion. The audiences who watched it reported feeling strange, disoriented, as if the play had not ended when the curtain fell. Some claimed they saw the actors in their dreams. Others said they heard lines from the play whispered in empty rooms. Within 6 months, the playwright vanished. The script was burned, but copies survived, handwritten, passed in secret, and those who read it changed. They began to question, not just the play, but everything, their relationships, their memories, their own faces in the mirror. One woman wrote in her diary, "I think I have been pretending to be myself for so long I forgot I was pretending, and now I don't know how to stop." The play was never performed again. But the idea lived on. There is a theory, whispered among those who study such things, that Hastur is not a king at all. He is a symptom of a much larger truth, that reality itself is fragile, that it requires constant maintenance, constant belief. And when too many people stop believing, when too many minds begin to see the cracks, reality starts to unravel. Hastur is what happens when someone pulls on the thread, and the more they pull, the more they see, until they realize there is no fabric. There never was. Only threads. Threads held together by agreement, by habit, by fear of what lies beneath. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to pretending the world is solid, because you know it's all just a story that only works if everyone keeps telling it. And Hastur, he is the one who stops telling it. In 2009, a therapist in London began noticing a pattern among her patients. They came to her with different problems, anxiety, depression, insomnia, but they all described the same experience, a moment when everything felt wrong. Not bad, not sad, just wrong, as if they had stepped outside themselves and were watching their life from a distance. She called it dissociation, a common symptom of trauma. But the more she listened, the more she realized they were not describing a symptom. They were describing an awakening. One patient said, "I looked at my husband and realized I didn't know him. Not really. I knew his face, his voice, his habits, but I didn't know him. And then I realized I don't know anyone, not even myself." Another said, "I was eating breakfast and suddenly I couldn't remember why. Why do we eat at certain times? Why do we sit at tables? Why do we pretend any of this matters?" The therapist tried to help them. She used grounding techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy, medication, but nothing worked because they were not sick, they were awake. And once you wake up from the dream of normalcy, there is no going back to sleep. She wrote in her notes, "I think they have seen something I have not. And I'm afraid that if I look too closely, I will see it too. Hastur does not want to hurt you. He wants to free you. But freedom in this case is not relief. It is terror. Because the freedom he offers is the freedom from meaning, from purpose, from the comforting lie that your life has a narrative. He shows you the truth, that you are not a character in a story. You are a chemical reaction, a pattern of neurons firing in a skull, a brief flicker of electricity pretending to be a person. And when the electricity stops, so do you. There is no soul, no continuity, no you beyond the illusion of you. And the worst part, you already knew this, deep down, in the quiet moments, in the space between thoughts. You have always known. You just refused to look. There was a man named Thomas Carr. He was a journalist, skeptical, rational. He did not believe in ghosts or gods or supernatural forces, but he was curious. When he heard about Hastur, he decided to investigate. He interviewed people who claimed to have encountered the King of Yellow. He read the accounts. He studied the patterns. And he came to a conclusion. It was mass hysteria, shared delusion, a psychological contagion spread through suggestion. He wrote an article debunking the myth. He called it the madness of crowds. It was published in a respected journal. It was well received. And then 3 days later, he stopped answering his phone. His editor went to his apartment. The door was unlocked. Thomas was sitting at his desk, staring at his computer screen. The article was still open, but he had added something. A single sentence repeated over and over, filling the entire document. I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong. He did not resist when they took him to the hospital. He did not speak. He just smiled. That same smile, the one that says, I know something you don't, and you will too. Hastur does not have followers. He has witnesses, people who have seen what he shows. And once you see it, you cannot stop seeing it. It is not a vision. It is a lens through which the world becomes unbearably clear. You see people walking down the street and you realize they are all pretending to know where they are going, pretending their jobs matter, pretending their relationships are real. You see yourself in the mirror and you realize that is not you. That is a face you have learned to associate with the word you. But the you is not in the face. It is not in the body. It is nowhere. It is nothing. A ghost haunting a machine. And the machine is breaking down. There is a place, a city. Some say it exists only in dreams. Others say it exists between moments, in the gaps where reality stutters. It is called Carcosa, and it is Hastur's kingdom, not a place you travel to, a place you fall into. When your mind becomes untethered, when the cracks spread too wide, when you stop being able to tell the difference between inside and outside, real and imagined, self and other. That is when you arrive. In Carcosa, the streets are empty, but you hear footsteps. The buildings are tall, but they have no doors. The sky is yellow, always yellow, and it presses down on you like a weight. And in the center of the city, there is a throne. And on the throne there is a figure, draped in tattered robes, wearing a mask. A mask that is not a mask, because beneath it there is nothing. No face, no person, only a voice. And the voice asks you a question you cannot refuse to answer, a question that will change you forever. And once you answer, you become part of the kingdom, not dead, not alive, just there watching, waiting, smiling. The worst part is not the fear. Fear fades. The worst part is the clarity. The horrible, unshakable clarity. When you see that everything you thought was solid is smoke. That every relationship is a performance. That every emotion is a chemical. That every belief is a story you told yourself. Because the alternative was too empty to bear. And you realize you have been alone this entire time. Alone inside a skull, watching the world through two holes, hearing sounds, processing signals, pretending it all means something. Pretending you are someone, but you are not. You never were. You are just the thing that thinks it's you. There was a teacher named Elena Voss. She taught philosophy at a university. She loved her work. She loved her students. She loved the way ideas could change the way people saw the world. One semester, she decided to teach a course on the nature of self. They read Descartes, Hume, Buddha, Nietzsche. They discussed the illusion of the ego, the problem of personal identity, the question of whether the self even exists. It was an engaging course. The students were excited. They debated. They questioned. They grew. But then one student stopped coming to class. And then another. And then another. Elena went to find them. She found them in the library, sitting together, not speaking. Just sitting, staring at nothing. When she asked them what was wrong, one of them looked at her and said, "We figured it out." "Figured what out?" she asked. "Us," the student said. "We figured out that we don't exist, not the way we thought. And now we can't pretend anymore." Elena tried to reassure them. She told them it was just philosophy, just ideas, not real. But they looked at her with pity. And one of them said, "You'll see soon, you'll see." A week later, Elena stopped teaching. She stood in front of her class, opened her mouth to speak, and couldn't. The words felt meaningless. The students felt like strangers. The room felt like a stage. And she was just an actor who had forgotten her lines. She walked out. She never came back. Hastur is not cruel. Cruelty requires intent. He does not intend anything. He simply is. A mirror held up to the mind. A mirror that shows you what you are without the comforting distortions. And what you see is not a person. It is a process, a pattern, a loop of thoughts and sensations and memories that believes it is a self. But it is not. It is just a process, running, running, running until it stops. And when you see that, when you truly see it, you realize there is nothing to hold on to. No ground beneath your feet, no walls around you. No you at all, just the process. Just the pattern, just the yellow. There is a warning, passed down in whispers, among those who know. Do not look for Hastur. Do not speak his name. Do not ask the questions, because once you start, you cannot stop. Once the door opens, it does not close. And what lies beyond is not darkness. Darkness would be a mercy. What lies beyond is light. Horrible, unending, unblinking light. The light that reveals everything. Every lie. Every pretense. Every illusion. And once you see it all, you cannot look away. You cannot go back. You can only stand there in the yellow light and understand. Understand that you were never real, that nothing was ever real, that it was all just a game played by a universe that does not care, a game that ends always, always, always in yellow. Some say there is a way to resist him, to keep the door closed. It is simple, they say. Do not question, do not doubt, do not look too closely. Accept the world as it is. Accept yourself as you are. Live, love, laugh, die, and never ever ask why. But the problem is, you are reading this, and that means you have already asked. The question is already inside you, growing, spreading, cracking the walls, and soon you will see. You will see the yellow. You will hear the whisper. You will feel the floor drop out from under you. And you will know that Hastur was never the monster. He was the truth, and you were always just a story that is ending. Right now, in this moment, as you read these words, as you feel your heartbeat, as you wonder, is this real? Am I real? Am I? Am I? Am I? The King of Yellow does not rule with an iron fist. He rules with a gentle touch, a whisper, a question, a crack in the wall. And once the wall begins to crumble, it never stops. It spreads to your friends, your family, your world, until everyone sees, until everyone knows, until the story we all agreed to tell falls apart. And what will be left? Nothing. Everything. The same thing. Just the yellow, just the pattern. Just the truth. The truth that was always there, waiting, watching, smiling. Tell me, have you ever felt like your mind was slipping even for 1 second? If you have, he has already found you. And there is no escape. There is no cure. There is only the knowing. The terrible, beautiful, unbearable knowing that you are not what you think you are, that the world is not what you think it is, that everything is just a mask. And beneath the mask, yellow, always yellow, forever yellow. This is the study of the 7 Shadow Kings, and Hastur, the King of Yellow, is the first. The one who opens the door, the one who shows you the abyss. Not outside, inside, inside you, inside me. Inside everyone who has ever asked, what if? And the answer is always the same. Always, you were right to be afraid. Because the truth is worse than any nightmare. The truth is that there is no you to be afraid. There is only the fear, and the fear is all there ever was. All there ever will be, until the yellow fades, until the story ends, until we all become what we always were. Nothing pretending to be something. Something pretending to be nothing. And in the space between, Hastur, waiting, always watching, always smiling, because he knows what you will become, what you are becoming, what you have always been. And he is patient, so patient, because in the end everyone comes to him, everyone sees, everyone understands. And once you do, you can never go back, never, only forward, into the yellow, into the light, into the truth, into the nothing, into yourself, or what you thought was yourself, until you realize there is no self, there never was. Only the king, only the yellow, only the question. And the question is you. There are children who see him first, before the world teaches them to stop looking. A child in Boston, 1992, she told her mother about the yellow man in her closet, the man who didn't move, who didn't speak, who just stood there watching, waiting. Her mother checked the closet. Nothing there, just coats, just shadows, just the ordinary darkness of a child's room. But the girl insisted. He's there, she said. He's always there. And he's smiling. The mother grew concerned. She took the child to a therapist. The therapist said it was an imaginary friend, a phase, something children do when they feel powerless. Give it time, the therapist said. She'll forget. But the child did not forget. She drew pictures of him. Yellow robes, yellow eyes, yellow smile. And in every picture she drew herself, standing next to him, holding his hand. The mother asked, "Why are you holding his hand?" And the child said, "Because he asked me to come with him." And I said yes. 3 months later, the child stopped speaking, not selectively, not out of trauma. She simply had nothing left to say. When they asked her why, she wrote on a piece of paper, "Words are pretend." He showed me. Everything is pretend. She is 28 now. She lives in an institution. She does not speak. She does not write. She just sits by the window, watching the sky, smiling, always smiling. And when visitors come, she looks at them with pity, as if they are the ones who are trapped. Not her. There was a priest named Father Michaelis. He was a good man, devoted, faithful. He believed in God. He believed in the soul. He believed in salvation. And then he met a woman. She came to confession. She knelt in the booth, and she said, "Father, I have not sinned. I have seen." The priest asked, "Seen what, my child?" And she said that there is no God, no devil, no heaven, no hell, just patterns, just code, just the yellow beneath everything. The priest tried to correct her. He quoted scripture. He spoke of faith. He spoke of love. But she interrupted him. She said, "You feel it too, don't you? In the quiet moments, when you pray and no one answers, when you wonder if you're talking to yourself, when you look at the crucifix and think, what if this is just wood, just metal, just a story we tell to avoid the truth?" The priest felt something shift inside him, a crack, a small one, but it was there. He told her to leave. He told her to pray for guidance. But that night he could not sleep. He went to the church. He knelt before the altar, and he prayed. But for the first time in his life, he heard nothing. No comfort, no presence, just silence. And in that silence, he understood. God was not absent. God had never been there. It was always just him. Just his voice, just his hope, echoing in an empty room. He left the priesthood the next morning. He did not explain. He did not say goodbye. He simply walked out. And when his colleagues found him weeks later, he was living in a basement apartment. The walls were covered in yellow paint. And he was writing the same sentence, over and over, on every surface, on the walls, on the floor, on his own skin. The sentence was, "I am not real. I am not real. I am not real. Hastur does not need to be summoned. He is already here. He has always been here." Beneath the surface, beneath the performance, waiting for the moment when you stop pretending, when you stop playing along, when you stop believing in the story. And that moment comes differently for everyone. For some it is a trauma, a loss, a betrayal, something that shatters the illusion of safety. For others, it is quieter, a moment of stillness, a moment of clarity, a moment when the world feels too sharp, too real, too obviously constructed. And in that moment you see him, not with your eyes, with your mind, with the part of you that knows, the part that has always known, the part that whispers in the dark, "This is not right. This is not real. This is not me." And once you hear that whisper, it grows louder and louder and louder, until it is all you can hear. There is a city in Japan, Osaka. In 2014, a social media trend began. It was called the Yellow Challenge. The rules were simple. Stare at something yellow for 10 minutes. Do not look away. Do not blink. Just stare and see what happens. At first, it seemed harmless. Teenagers posted videos. They laughed. They joked. They said nothing happened. But then the videos began to change. People stopped laughing. They stopped joking. They just stared into the camera, silent, hollow. And in the background, if you listened closely, you could hear them whispering the same phrase, in different languages, in different voices. But always the same phrase, "He is here." The trend was banned. The videos were removed, but the phrase spread. People began seeing it everywhere, graffitied on walls, written in steam on bathroom mirrors, carved into tree bark. "He is here, he is here, he is here." And those who saw it changed. They stopped going to work. They stopped answering their phones. They stopped pretending. One man was found in his apartment, surrounded by yellow objects, yellow paper, yellow flowers, yellow paint. When the police asked him why, he said, "I am preparing." "Preparing for what?" they asked. And he smiled. That smile. He said, "For when I stop being me and become what I really am." They took him away, but the yellow remained. Spread across the city, spread across the country, spread across the world. A slow creeping reminder that something is waiting, something patient, something that knows. You cannot run from what is inside you. There was a neuroscientist named Dr. Anya Petrov. She studied consciousness, the hard problem, the mystery of how matter becomes mind, how neurons become thoughts, how electricity becomes experience. She spent years searching for the answer, scanning brains, mapping networks, tracking patterns, and then one day she found something. A pattern that should not exist, a signal repeating, in every brain she scanned, in every person, in every moment of consciousness. At first she thought it was noise, interference, but the more she studied it, the more she realized it was not noise. It was a message encoded in the structure of consciousness itself, a message that repeated over and over in every waking mind. And when she finally decoded it, when she finally understood what it said, she shut down her lab. She erased her data. She resigned from the university. And when her colleagues asked her why, she said, "Because I found the answer. And the answer is that we are not supposed to know. We are not supposed to see. We are not supposed to understand what we are. Because if we do, if we truly do, we stop being human. We become something else, something that cannot live in the world of pretend, something that can only exist in the yellow, in the space between thoughts, in the place where Hastur waits." She disappeared shortly after. Some say she took her own life. Others say she simply walked away, into the forest, into the mountains, into the yellow. But her notes were found, hidden, burned but not completely destroyed. And in the margins, in her own handwriting, was a warning. Do not look for the signal. If you find it, you will never be able to unhear it. And once you hear it, you will understand. You are not listening to your thoughts. Your thoughts are listening to you. And something else is listening too. Hastur does not age. He does not change. He is not bound by time. He exists in the eternal now, the moment between moments, the pause between breaths, the silence between heartbeats. That is where he lives. And that is where he waits, for you, for me, for everyone who has ever wondered, what am I? What is this? What is real? And when you ask that question, truly ask it not as a game but as a need, he answers, not with words, with presence, with the sudden crushing realization that you do not know. You have never known, and you will never know, because there is nothing to know, only the pretending, only the story, only the mask. And beneath the mask, only yellow, only him, only the truth that you are not you. You are the performance of you, and the audience is empty, and the stage is collapsing, and there is nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, nowhere to run, except deeper, into the yellow, into the knowing, into the place where all stories end, and all masks fall, and all pretending stops, and there is only what remains, which is nothing, which is everything, which is him. Tell me, do you remember the first time you felt like a stranger to yourself? Or the first time you looked in the mirror and thought, who is that? Do you remember the first time you realized your memories might be wrong? That your personality might be a performance? That your thoughts might not be yours? If you do, then you have already met him. You have already seen the yellow. You have already begun the process that does not stop, the process that only goes one way, deeper, darker, truer, until you arrive in the place where he waits, in the throne room, in Carcosa, in the center of the labyrinth of yourself, and he will ask you the question you cannot refuse, the question that will end you, and begin you, and reveal you for what you always were, a flicker, a shadow, a dream, dreaming itself awake. And when you wake, you will see that the dreamer was never you, for it was him. It was always him. The King of Yellow, the Monarch of Madness, the one who opens the door and lets the light in. The horrible, beautiful, unbearable light. That shows you the truth you spent your whole life running from. The truth that there is no you. There never was. Only the running. Only the fear. Only the yellow. And now, you can stop running. You can stop pretending. You can stop being. And finally, you can rest in the knowing, in the light, in his arms forever and ever, and ever. Amen. But wait, before you go, before you close your eyes and surrender to the yellow, before you accept that there is no escape, let me tell you something. They don't want you to know something. Hastur himself would never whisper there is a way out, not a cure, not a reversal, not a forgetting, but a way to live. Despite the knowing, despite the cracks, despite the yellow that seeps through everything, it begins with acceptance, not of him, but of yourself. You see, Hastur's power lies in a single weapon, isolation. He convinces you that you are alone in your awareness, that no one else sees what you see, that you are the only one who knows the truth. And in that loneliness you break, you fall, you surrender. But here is the secret: you are not alone. Everyone has seen the yellow. Everyone has felt the cracks. Everyone has looked in the mirror and wondered, who is that? The difference is not that some people are immune. The difference is that some people choose to build anyway, to love anyway, to live anyway, even knowing it's fragile, even knowing it's temporary, even knowing it's a story. Because here is the truth Hastur will never tell you: stories matter. Not because they are true, but because we tell them together. The self may be an illusion, but it is an illusion we create, an illusion we perform, an illusion we share. And in that sharing something real happens, not truth, but connection, not meaning, but meaning-making. Hastur offers you clarity, cold, sharp, unbearable clarity. He shows you the abyss. He shows you the void. He shows you that there is no ground beneath your feet. But he does not show you the other people falling with you. He does not show you the hands reaching out. He does not show you that even in free fall we can hold each other. So here is how you escape the King of Yellow. You do not fight him. You do not deny him. You do not pretend he is not there. You acknowledge him. You thank him for showing you the truth. And then you turn away. You turn toward the people who love you, even though love is just chemicals. You turn toward the work that fulfills you, even though fulfillment is just neurons firing. You turn toward the beauty that moves you, even though beauty is just perception. You choose the story, knowing it is a story. You choose the mask, knowing it is a mask. You choose to be a person, knowing personhood is a performance. And in that choice you do something Hastur cannot understand. You create meaning, not because it was always there, but because you made it. This is the only way, the only path, the only resistance. Not to close your eyes to the yellow, but to see it, acknowledge it, and choose to paint over it anyway. With red, with blue, with green, with all the colors of a life lived deliberately. A life lived in defiance of the void, Hastur will never leave you completely. Once you have seen him, he is always there, in the corner of your vision, in the silence between words, in the moment before sleep. But he does not have to rule you. He does not have to define you. He does not have to consume you. You can carry the knowledge of the abyss and still choose to dance on its edge. You can know that you are nothing and still choose to be something. You can see through the illusion and still choose to believe in it, because belief is not about truth. Belief is about commitment, and commitment is the only weapon against despair. So if you feel the yellow creeping in, if you hear his whisper, if you see the cracks spreading, remember this: you are not alone. You have never been alone. There are millions of us walking through the world, carrying the same knowledge, bearing the same weight, seeing the same yellow. And we choose every day to keep walking, to keep building, to keep loving, to keep pretending. Not because we are ignorant, but because we are brave. Brave enough to know the truth and live anyway. Brave enough to see the void and create anyway. Brave enough to meet the King of Yellow and say, I see you, I know you, and I choose something else. This is the end of our study, the end of this story, the end of Hastur's whisper. But it is not the end of you. You continue. You persist. You remain, not because you are solid, but because you choose to be. Not because you are real, but because you act as if you are. Not because you have meaning, but because you make meaning, and that is the only magic that exists in this world. The only miracle. The only truth worth holding. The truth that we are stories. And stories, when told together, become something more than lies. They become life. So go now. Close this page. Step away from the yellow. Return to your world and live. Despite everything, live, because the King of Yellow may be eternal. But so is the act of defiance. So is the choice to continue. So is the courage to be human, even when you know what human really is. This is how you escape his grasp, not by running, but by staying, not by forgetting, but by remembering, not by denying the abyss, but by building a bridge across it and walking, and walking, and walking, together, always together, until the story ends. And even then, even in the silence, even in the yellow, you will know. You were here. You mattered. You chose. And that was enough. That will always be enough. Goodbye, traveler. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing witness. Thank you for surviving this far. Now go and survive further. The King of Yellow is waiting. He will always be waiting. But you do not have to answer. You do not have to go to him. You can walk the other way, toward the noise, toward the chaos, toward the messy, beautiful, impossible act of being alive. And when you do, when you choose that path, you will have won, not against him, but for yourself. And that is all that matters. That is all that has ever mattered. Now go, live, be, despite the yellow, despite the knowing, despite everything, go.